If you want to move from advocacy to public responsibility, Americans are going to need to hear a clear and trustworthy recantation of what you have said on vaccinations, including a promise from you never to say vaccines aren't medically safe when they in fact are. Frankly, you frighten people.
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Quite a display on Capitol Hill today as Donald Trump's choice to be the top health official in the United States of America, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., appeared in the first of his 2 Senate confirmation hearings to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy has stoked dangerous conspiracy theories on a range of health issues over decades, including spreading lies and skepticism about vaccines, especially the COVID vaccine. He has linked school shootings to antidepressants. He wants to take fluoride out of our water supply, and he wants to remove restrictions on raw milk. On the eve of his hearings, his cousin Caroline Kennedy sent a scathing letter to the United States Senate saying her cousin is unqualified to serve as HHS secretary, even calling him a, quote, predator. Today, RFK Jr. backtracked on his controversial past statements, his appearance essentially amounting to trying to pull a fast one on Congress. He started off denying his anti-vax positions, saying he is, quote, pro-safety and for good science. He confused the government health programs, Medicare and Medicaid, and he flip-flopped on his previously stated comments on women's reproductive health, at one point throwing the future of the abortion pill, mifepristone, into question. Watch.
President Trump has made it clear to me that one of the things, he is not taking a position yet on mifepristone, a detailed position, but he's made it clear to me that he wants me to look at safety issues, and I'll ask NIH and FDA to do that.
Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire dug in on some of Kennedy's flip-flops.
Have clearly stated in the past that bodily autonomy is one of your core values. The question is, do you stand for that value or not? When was it that you decided to sell out the values you've had your whole life in order to be given power by President Trump?
Senator, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy, that we can't be a moral authority in this country.
Right, but that isn't what you said back in New Hampshire in 2023. My question is exactly when did you decide to sell out your life's work and values to get this position?
Senator, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy.
So what you're telling us, just to be clear, because my time is limited, is that regardless of what you believe, regardless of what values you have, if President Trump tells you to do something, you're going to do it.
I think the date is sometime around when Kamala Harris didn't take his call. Now, when it comes to the role of our country's HHS secretary, that person oversees 13 different agencies, and they impact every single American. These conspiracies and about faces have real life and death consequences. Here's a remarkable exchange where Senator Michael Bennet had a lightning round of questions for this nominee.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded and NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that
I'll take that as a yes. I have to move on, I have to move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of Lyme
I want all of
disease
our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
No, I never said that.
Okay, I have the record that I'll give to the chairman, and he can make his judgment about what you said. Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Okay, I'll give it to the chairman, Mr. Kennedy. And my final question, did you say on a podcast, and I quote, "I wouldn't leave abortion to the states. My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have the government involved, even if it's full term." Did you say that, Mr. Kennedy?
Senator, I believe that every abortion is a tragedy.
Did you say it, Mr. Kennedy? This
believe-
matters. It doesn't matter what you come here and say that isn't true, that's not reflective of what you really believe, that you haven't said over decade after decade after decade, because unlike other jobs we're confirming around this place, this is a job where it is life and death for the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools and for families all over this country that are suffering from living in the richest country of the world that can't deliver basic health care and basic mental health care to them. It's too important for the games that you're playing, Mr. Kennedy.
Wow. That's where we start the hour with some of our favorite experts and friends. Former White House COVID-19 response coordinator under President Joe Biden and the dean at Brown University School of Public Health, Dr. Ashish Shah, is back. Plus, president of Reproductive Freedom for All, Mini Timiraju's here. Also joining us, MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller, former RNC spokesman, now host of the Bulwark podcast. And lucky for us, Basil Smikle is still here. There are a lot of things that we just hold up a mirror to and say, ta-da, Trump won, and here's what's happening. But, Tim Miller, I just need you to rewind the tape. How the F did we get here?
Well, if you rewind the tape back too far, then you wouldn't be able to find any senators who would vote to confirm this person. This, to me, just shows what the farce of today is, right? That RFK Jr., and maybe some hold these positions, but are not any Republican senators. Did support abortion up till the moment of birth. Was a trial lawyer that sued companies on behalf of environmentalists. Was a far left kook that pushed vaccine conspiracies. I think most of those vaccine conspiracies that were far left kooks have now joined the far right kooks, and they're kind of aligned in a kook alliance against the rest of us. But this was the type of person that if he'd walked into a Republican conference meeting like 4th of July last year, they would have been like, "Get out of here. You're not welcome here. You're crazy." So, the Democrats were asking him serious questions that he couldn't answer. And the Republicans can't even really defend him. And so we have now a person that is unqualified. I mean, just you played those clips. I had to suffer through half of it today. During the hearing today, Marsha Blackburn, not exactly the sharpest knife in the Senate, had to correct him because he didn't know what agency Dr. Oz was supposed to lead. That's a real sentence. Dr. Oz is leading a different agency, and RFK couldn't remember which one it was, but that's going to be under him. He guessed that 30 million children were on Medicaid when Senator Lujan asked him how many children are on Medicaid. Does he know how many people are in the country? Like 3 million kids are born a year. He said that heroin was easier to get off of than antidepressants. Today, that wasn't like in an old podcast from 2021. Today, he said that during his testimony. We're kind of coming on the downslope of an opioid crisis that all you had to do is watch one documentary about to know the ravages of heroin and how hard it is to get off of heroin. So, and it's a preposterous nomination. His resume is zero. And the only reason that he's here is that he endorsed Donald Trump. Donald Trump gave him the job, and all the Republican senators are scared of Donald Trump. So I guess that's the simple answer to your question.
Yeah, it's just really important context. We're not here covering this story of this person whose own cousin calls him a, quote, predator. Actually, let me just show you what Caroline Kennedy said about his hypocrisy on vaccines. Here's what he did to his own kids.
Bobby preys on the desperation of parents of sick children, vaccinating his own kids while building a following hypocritically discouraging other parents from vaccinating theirs.
That accusation that a human being, quote, preys on the desperation of parents of sick children, vaccinating his own kids while building a following by hypocritically discouraging other parents from vaccinating theirs, in any normal time for any job, is disqualifying. And I guess maybe it's the RFK hearing that is so farcical that I just wonder if the Republicans really dig down. Do you think any of them are saying, ooh, am I really going to do this one, Tim?
You wonder. And the other just contrast on the kids, to me, the worst of all of the RFK stories, is he said himself that when he goes on hikes and he sees mothers with small children, he confronts them and tells them not to vaccinate their children. Like, that is the behavior of a madman, an insane person. Will any Republicans do the right thing? I don't know. Look, there were 3 Republicans voted against Pete Hegseth. You need 4. So let's just say those 3 do again. I don't think it's any guarantee, but let's just say you need 1 more. I'm here in Louisiana. Bill Cassidy is a doctor. He voted to convict Donald Trump in the second impeachment. He was the only Republican on the Senate that asked kind of a modicum of serious questions today, and it wasn't so tough, but he at least asked some serious questions today. And in Louisiana, we have this jungle primary system where all the parties run together. So, ostensibly, who knows? Maybe his political career is not quite as beholden to the far right as somebody in a closed primary state. So I look at him as potentially the 4th, but it's like, have you seen anything that would make you think that somebody like Bill Cassidy is going to use this moment to show spine? I don't think so. But as somebody that's a doctor that had already voted to convict Trump, that's political career might be over anyway. He might lose a MAGA challenge anyway because of that conviction. Maybe he'd be the type of person that would do it. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. Nobody's made any money betting on these guys.